Hey, hi, hello, ladies. How's it going? How's it going? Hope you're doing good. Hope you're doing well. Me, I'm doing fine because we got some explosive drama to get into because Brady, the ex-guitar player from Turnstile, went absolutely ballistic on the timeline, but kind of in a vague way that annoys me to my bitter core, okay? So today we're going to be getting into even more Brady Ebert Turnstile drama that involves Brady calling out Turnstile, members of Turnstile and Turnstile's crew, of being predators, thieves, and gaslighters, among many more things. Brady Ebert isn't just like torching the fucking bridge over here. He wants to see the entire city burn. So before we get into all of that, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Dan Frampton, all one word, the O's a zero. I am the internet's most ruthless gatekeeper, and over here, I collect likes and subs. So if you got a like or a sub over there, I bet you just show them to me. All right, so for this drama, we're going to be talking about Brady Ebert, the former guitar player of a couple bands. A lot of people don't want this guy around, apparently, and that all started a couple years ago when he was the guitar player of Turnstile. This guy was a riff machine, and then they didn't really break up, but they kicked him out and tried to put a restraining order on him, and that didn't really go so well. Back in the day, they were so happy together. They were just out there taking over the world, being the biggest hardcore band, transitioning from the local scene to the global stage. It was lovely to see, but then all sorts of drama happened. I've covered it all here on the channel. You can go back and watch those videos if you want, but Brady Ebert was no longer in Turnstile. What he ended up doing was starting another Baltimore hardcore band called The Set, and they were set to put out a record. They did a whole teaser for the record. There was a music video for the record. People were really hyping this up. And what did Brady think was the smartest thing to do during this album cycle, during the release of all this sort of thing? He thought it would be great to start calling out Turnstile, because Turnstile posted this picture over here to their Instagram story, this Abolish ICE billboard or whatever. Brady Ebert poked so many holes in this, called these guys fake, called these guys disingenuous, and then started to sprinkle in all sorts of predator allegations as well on top of everything. And during this time, he also said that Brendan Yates, the singer of Turnstile, stole $4,000 from a charity. So Brady is just throwing accusation after accusation after accusation just out there. Amidst all of this, Turnstile's just like ignoring it completely. They went out there, they won a Grammy, and meanwhile, back in Baltimore or whatever, I don't know actually where they are, I would just imagine it's Baltimore, you got Brady Ebert starting another band called The Experience. What's the over-under on the lifespan of this band, do you say? But we're not really here to talk about The Experience. We're not here to talk about any of this previous drama. We're here to talk about all of these texts that Brady Ebert posted to his Instagram stories over the weekend. Now, I was going to do a video as they were coming out, but I was like, I gotta give this a minute because this guy's currently amidst a crash out and I was expecting more. I was gonna do a video around like the 3 or 4 screenshot mark. And it was already juicy enough to do a video then. But then it just kept going, folks. He just kept on riffing. He just kept on putting out screenshot after screenshot after leaked text after leaked text. And today we're gonna be getting into it. The first text that he leaked is from Brandon. Now this is not Brendan Yates, this is Brandon. At first, I thought it was Brendan, which is why I'm glad that I waited a little bit to make this video. I thought that maybe Brady put Brendan in his phone as Brandon, just as a slight dig or whatever. But I think Brandon is a different guy than Brendan because he also leaks Brendan texts a little bit later. But he starts off throwing fire right away. Whoever this Brandon guy is, he's not only accusing him of being a predator, but he's accusing him of being a file. I probably had to beep that word here on YouTube. They like it when you call them PDF files. The way I type it is P3DO, but when I say it like that, it just makes him sound like a cybernetic robot, and it takes all the seriousness away from the word. But you know the word I'm talking about, and that is the word that Brady is calling Brandon. There are so many B names in this, it's getting so hard in my brain. My brain can't handle Brady, Brandon, and Brendan all at the same time. Jesus Christ. But the first text that we're going to get into, the blue, is Brady, and the gray is Brandon, not Brendan. Brady jumps in and says, everyone heard it, including the promoter at the show. And then Brandon comes in and says, oh yes, I raped someone, and then proudly announced it to everyone. What the fuck are you saying? To which Brady replies, yeah you did, you lying bitch. You said this girl came up to the merch table and said, oh mate, I've been up all night at a rave, and I just took some ecstasy, and then I said / want to go to the bathroom. And then she asked my D, and the problem is she's 16. I asked you, but you didn't know, right? And you said, actually, she told me on the way to the bathroom. That is a heavy accusation to just make to somebody in text, let alone leak that text to the internet without any context. Is there a victim here? If there is indeed a victim in this scenario, this is a highly sensitive matter, and to just throw this out there like this without any context is so crazy. These are really big words to be accusing somebody of, and if this actually did happen, this is the least fair way to share that story to the internet if there's a victim involved. It's absolutely so fucking irresponsible, man. What the fuck are you doing? And actually, by doing this, you took all credibility away from any investigation that could happen. Anyway, I continue. Brandon replies, bro, are you high? That never happened. And then Brady just starts laughing. Yeah, I'm high. You realize that trick was old in the 60s. And he just keeps talking. Oh my God. If it's really about all this sort of stuff, laughing at this guy for his response is not the way to handle this situation. You know, they use that same technique to discredit Black Panthers and the anti-Vietnam protesters. No one buys that shit, dummy. That's not what it's about, bro. Holy fucking shit. Absolutely crash out city over here. And that's the first set of screenshots. This guy is throwing file accusations at some guy named Brandon who was at the merch table at a Turnstile show, judging by all of these context clues over here. A member of the Turnstile army, a member of the Turnstile, I don't know, operation or crew or whatever, is now being thrown under the bus, but not with any context. This is the vague post of the century. Then you keep going down on his stories. I'm gonna do my best to read all this stuff, but this guy has no handle on the English language. He doesn't know what a period or a comma is. This is crash out type, just type, enter, type, enter, brother. And when all these things are involved, that is not the way you want to conduct yourself. Anyway, I'm going to try to read this. Turnstile has been a band of predators since before I left. They have gotten worse since, according to many women involved with them. Who was abused by Dan Fang comes to mind. Well, I looked up this situation. I couldn't find anything about it. It doesn't seem like a public situation. If this is someone else's story that you're just sharing on the internet in this vague post, my God, my guy, this is the most irresponsible shit of all time. If it's true, this is a bad way to do it. And if it's false, it's even a worse way to do it. And you didn't even have the decency to use a comma or a period. But really, the grammatical structure of this post is the least important part about it. This is terribly irresponsible. If this person has a story to tell involving Dan Fang, and if Dan Fang has absolutely hurt somebody, this isn't your story to tell, first off. And by leaving out all these last names, you're making it very vague to everybody outside of Turnstile, but everybody within of Turnstile and within the community and within the scene, they're all gonna recognize these names. They're all gonna know what you're talking about. You're stirring shit within a local community and not really understanding the global reach of all this sort of stuff right now because of how big your former band is. Terribly irresponsible. Oh my God, dude. And if any of this stuff happened, and if it's true, which I'm not saying it's not, and I'm not trying to say that any of it's fake or real, there's just no way to tell when it's being presented to you like this. These are curated screenshots and only snippets of them. There's no full context. It's extremely vague. And when you're out here trying to tell these stories, the details matter so much. You can't be posting vague about this sort of stuff. And now, if this person has this story and they were quiet about it, now it's loud and out there in their community with their friends, with their family, and now they're forced to deal with it again, and it's not on their own terms. That's extremely unfair. But it just seems like Brady is throwing anything that he possibly can in the most chaotic way possible. If he really wanted to leak all of this stuff and he had a plan to really make right and to really get justice out there in the world, Jesus Christ, my fella, this is not the way to do it. You start by gathering all this sort of stuff, then you create a private document, then you start reaching out to everybody, then you start getting statements. I'm not here to tell you how to do it. I'm not your PR firm. You need one though. This is terrible. This makes you look bad, Brady. This makes everyone you associate with look like total shit as well. And then he goes on back and forth in this text exchange with somebody that he does not tell us who it is, but it is just a shit-talking text exchange between people shit-talking straight-edge people and straight-edge behaviors, how they womanize and how they abuse and how they treat life with this like caveman mentality. But it's just shit-talking back and forth. There is no evidence here. There is nothing. This is just like, oh yeah, and I also shit-talk you guys because I found somebody to shit-talk you with. These texts right here, you can pause it and read it if you want. They are insane. It's not even really that insane to have this conversation with somebody that you know when you're in the midst of a drama. You need to have people to talk shit about, of course, but to post it alongside a statutory allegation is fucking insane. This is just you guys being like, yeah, they're so gross. Yeah, they're so bad. I knew they were so bad. Oh yeah, you're really spitting fire. I'm glad you're doing this. But are you gonna get charged with defamation? And no, I don't think he's going to get charged with defamation because of how muddy he made this entire thing. Now, if anybody else wants to come out and tell their story, it's already been diluted with whatever the fuck this guy's doing over here. But posting a text exchange with somebody that you don't even really mention, this is their profile picture, it's just somebody throwing down in a pit wearing camo or whatever, just a hardcore guy. And it's just hilarious that they're talking about how toxic the straight edge people are or whatever in this text exchange while being so toxic themselves. The self-awareness is just not there, and it would be so funny if it wasn't so serious, if it wasn't so mistimed and so misplaced and just irresponsible to no end. And then more text exchanges with somebody who I have no idea, but if you're in the community, you probably know these fucking profile pictures. And I wonder if he consulted these people over here with these profile pictures that he was planning on leaking all of these DMs. Did he just violate everybody's trust in the process of doing this? These are text exchanges from 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 different people. And he's just putting them out there? Did he consult these 5 different people? Was he like, yo, person in the tank top, I'm gonna be releasing some of our texts. Is that okay? How about you guy, Mr. Guitar Player person? How about you guy with the baby? How about you, hardcore dancing man? Can I share all these things really quick? Something tells me he didn't do that. If I'm wrong, Brady Ebert, if you're in the comments down there, let me know. Did you consult with all your friends, all your fellow shit talkers that you were about to leak all of their DMs, all their texts or whatever? Crazy nonsense, bro. And after calling somebody a pedophile and leaking all of these texts, he comes in and says, the bottom line is that Turnstile stole millions from me? Well, that really changes everything. You know when you're like watching a movie about a court case or whatever and they're trying to find jury members and somebody hates somebody that's on trial, they're taken away from the case because they're no longer credible? Well, this takes all the credibility away from everything that you said, because this is just like, goddamn, this is just a disgruntled employee throwing fire on a bridge. And even if it's not that, that is the optics. That is the way you made it look, Brady. Bottom line is Turnstile stole millions from me, thousands from charity, gaslit me and my family, and tried to convince everyone that I was an out-of-control drug addict. Bro, do you see what's in front of you right now? You are an out-of-control drug addict. You absolutely are. I don't know how the drugs influence anything like this. I'm around stoners and potheads that are stoned from morning to night, all day, every day, and none of them do this. What are you doing? Oh, one thing that I forgot to fucking mention when I was going through these texts is there is one I do specifically want to read, or at least point your attention. Brady mentions all of these other past predators, and they're all well-documented cases. The dude from Champion, Zach Deere, Matt Barnum, the drummer from Regulate, No Pressure, all of those cases are out there on the internet. And then he just throws in Brandon and D-Fang, straight edge predators, poisoning the well completely. Fucking insane. And remember that that is the foundation of all these accusations. These guys are predators of the worst kind. And then to say the bottom line is that they stole millions of dollars from you? What? Fuck, man. If they stole millions of dollars from you, and if all of this other stuff is true, these are two separate things and need to be handled in two separate, extremely serious ways. Dumping a bunch of text like this is not going to change anything. Did you wake up Monday morning, Brady, and everything was different now that you've done this? Did you get your $1 million, and have you gotten justice for these fucking people? No, you didn't. You made things worse. Much, much worse. And I'd say you made them worse for yourself as well. Now, I'm going to read that bottom line statement because it is fucking insane. I'm going to read it from beginning to end. And if anybody has any red flags pop up in their brain, don't be shy. Go down there to the comments and let your opinion be heard. Quote, bottom line is Turnstile stole millions from me. thousands from charity, gaslit me, my family, and my friends to convince them I was an out-of-control drug addict, and filed a fraudulent peace and order in attempt to prevent me from being able to talk about their abusive-ass behavior towards women and others in the community. And by the way, there's so many typos in this, man. If this dude was really this serious, you'd think that he would at least proofread this. This is insane. Of the community is all one word. Bro, this is sad. This is absolutely so sad. Anyway, jumping back in. This is extremely common in the entertainment industry. John Frusciante, anybody? Frusciante not capitalized, it's a last name. Oh, the details really matter in situations like this. And this sort of carelessness in the language that he's using when trying to be serious just shows me how serious he actually is. This guy is a clown. I was on his side for a little while there, but when he was kicked out of the set, I was like, oh shit, this guy's about to crash out, huh? And yeah, the crash out has begun. It has definitely begun. Jumping back in. They hoped I'd die of or a drug overdose and wouldn't be able to tell my story. But here the fuck I am, making sure they can never do this again, since Brendan killed my first real friend, Mark Sabatini, from One Step. Man, the exact same way. Holy shit. Holy fucking shit. Did you fucking hear this, people? This guy accused Brendan Yates of murder at the end of this fucking bottom line statement. Jesus Christ. Dude, absolutely, what is this statement? What is this crash out? This is insane behavior. This might be some of the most insane behavior that I've covered on this or any of my channels. This crash out is nuts. If it really is about millions of dollars, you should go after the millions of dollars and not maybe call your former singer a murderer, a pedophile, a predator, a manipulator. Wild stuff, especially baseless and without any evidence. Fucking insane. And another text exchange shows one of his friends saying, shit, with the band gaining more mainstream momentum, I'd assume royalties would come your way with that. They did. They owe me $46,000 this year, even told the IRS, but they only paid me $18,000. So those greedy bastards stole more than half my royalties while making millions. More crazy accusations. And he follows it up with a statement of his own saying, Brendan Yates is the ultimate ripoff artist in all aspects of his life, not just music, but definitely music too. Shaking my head. Christ almighty, Brady, you've fallen off the fucking face of the earth, man. Jesus Christ. Bro. I don't even know how to process any of this. I am not a psychologist, but you need to see one. Legitimately. I would tell you to step away from music and step away from the internet and step away from the scene completely, but I don't even know if that will help you. I don't have any advice for whatever the fuck is going on in your little brain, dude. Holy shit. But then the Brendan leaks happen. Not Brandon. This is Brendan, the singer of Turnstile. Now, you got the ex-guitar player of Turnstile leaking a text exchange that he had with the singer, the current singer of Turnstile. Brady says, and I think you'll wish you took it upon yourself to aim it right in the future if you don't. Excuse those typos at the end. Typos at the end, bro? What do you mean? There's typos through absolutely everything that you do. And then you got Brendan responding with punctuation. Oh my God, this thing looks like I'll be able to read it. There's commas and M dashes. Let's go. Brady, threatening and one-directional messaging like this are why we had to set boundaries. That being said, I think about you all the time. For years, I hoped for a day where we could have an honest conversation where we both share how we've been hurt and try to understand each other more deeply. A conversation where you're also able to, and then it cuts off. If you're going to be leaking texts, important texts, you need to leak the entire text. You're leaving out context. This guy is so frustrating. Holy fuck. Imagine being this guy's friend. And he starts off with another cut off text of his own. In the middle of a sentence, you are, period. You hope that one day that can happen. And as soon as you can check your ego enough to discuss something honestly, we can have that conversation. As soon as you check your ego, bud. This is fucking insane, man. Brendan is telling Brady, I'm open to the conversation. Let's have this conversation. And instead of being like, okay, cool, yeah, let's do that. He's like, no, check your ego first, bud. That's not the way to have open dialogue, man. Who taught you how to communicate? You are a deeply bruised individual. And then Brendan's final text looks like this. Quote, you've previously sent threatening text. This one includes phrasing like, evaluate before it's too late, and you'll wish you took it upon yourself in the future. Whether you considered how that might read or not, after 3 years, I would hope that you would take the time to reach out in a way that was not so finger-pointing and maybe had any accountability or consideration for how the situation may have affected me as well. The text cuts off. Of course, we don't get to see how that one finishes. And then another text begins, and we don't get to see how this one begins or finishes, but I'll do my best. You've never been able to believe when someone says they love you, which broke my heart when all I tried to do was show you that I cared to the best of my ability. Your message came across as only accusatory and presumptuous without ever considering asking how I feel or how the situation was and still is on me. Hearing you say that I want to ignore any responsibility is exactly how I felt towards you for years, which to me feels like a massive misunderstanding, one that would require patience and effort to understand each other. Now, I have no idea why Brady, in his rage, chose to share these messages over here. He's like, oh, I'm gonna paint Brendan like he's a real bad guy, and then shows a message of him being a really, really nice guy. It's like, okay, yeah, you showed him being a solid dude. What the fuck? You showed him being a solid dude that has a good understanding of the English language. What the fuck? Brady, you made yourself look like a total clown by the end of this by sharing Brendan's extremely kind, well-reasoned, and well-thought-out response. And especially in juxtaposition to your crash out over here, this looks like a sacred text. This looks like ancient literature. And then Brady finishes it off. Brendan Yates, world's most prolific gaslighter. My God. Dude, he was being so kind. This is a very kind message, from what I could see. Unless the mean stuff you cut out, but everything else made him seem very nice. He's like, I was hurt. I understand that you were hurt. We were hurt in the same kind of way. It kind of just sounds like a misunderstanding. Maybe we should just chat this out real quick. Brendan didn't do any crazy denials or hurl anything else at him. He was just like, this is how it made me feel, and I would like a conversation. I have no idea why you would choose to post this if you're trying to paint this guy like a bad person. You've taken the stories out of so many people's mouths, if they actually exist. And I'm not saying they do or don't, but Brady completely poisoned the well by his behavior out here. He completely delegitimized everything in this timeline. It's gonna take a hell of a lot more effort to repair any of this fucking damage to any of these lives that you just thrown onto the internet. I have no idea what's true or what's real with the interpersonal dynamics between these real human beings that were in a band together, and all this sort of stuff is behind closed doors. But if he owes you millions of dollars, get a lawyer and issue a subpoena, my friend. What is this? If that is the case, if they really do owe you $1 million and you were a part of that band, there are legal avenues that you can go down to get that millions of dollars. And don't tell me, oh, I couldn't afford a lawyer. You were about to get millions of dollars, apparently. So what is it? Are you just saying you were about to make millions of dollars? Why aren't you doing this the right way? Sloppy. Sloppy, sloppy, sloppy. Not only sloppy, irresponsible, and damaging. But this crash out is fucking insane. Get help. Major help, my friend. But that's the crash out and how I see it right now. I want to know what your opinion is. Sound off down below. If you haven't hit like or subscribe yet and you've watched the entire video, it's time to rectify that drastic error in your life. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Goodbye, see you later, and have a good one.